Good morning, California. I have to tell you, Madam Speaker, Madam Leader, the next time that we do a program, we're putting John Lewis at the bottom so that all of us, sort of milquetoast can go first. It is so great to be here with you and to be with California. And I had a choice this morning because I'm from Maryland, and we had our Maryland party breakfast this morning. And I said, well, I told all the Marylanders last night, well, I'm going to go and hang out with the first daughter of Maryland, our leader, Nancy Pelosi. And so thank you for inviting me. Everybody, when John Lewis was up here, my good friend, and Jared Polis came up, they all had to make a California connection. So I'm sitting there and I'm struggling, trying to figure out, well, what's my California connection? So here it is, and you can take it for what it's worth. So I come from a family of six kids. We're a military family. We have 2 bookend boys, the oldest and the youngest, and 4 girls in the middle. And the 2 bookend boys were both born in California. And my favorite 5th grade teacher, Mrs. Wilkerson at Lone Tree Elementary School in Beale Air Force Base, California. So there. But it is so wonderful to be with you. And, when you come from Maryland, we have 5.5 million people in the state of Maryland. And I think there are like 5.5 million people here in this room. And so that is the difference. But I am excited. I'm a relatively new member of the House, and I came in 2008 in a special election. And I remember sitting down with Speaker Pelosi, and she swore me in, and I was just like so incredibly thrilled. But I remember sitting down with her, and every new member who comes in, they say, what committees do you want to be on? And we say, well, Ways and Means and Appropriations and Energy and Commerce, the big 3. And she looked at me and she smiled sweetly and she said, you were at NASA working on Space Lab, so you have a science background. What do you think about science and technology? And I said, well, I hadn't really thought about that. And now I'm on the Science and Technology Committee. I love the committee, Madam Leader. I love it. And the reason is because we're stacked up against a whole bunch of Republicans who clearly don't believe in science. And by evidence of everything that they have said about women, they never took biology. And so we know what the fight is. We know that if we have the other guys who are waging a war against women and they want to decimate every social program that there is, a social safety net that lifts people up, that helps them get on their feet, provides for student loans, for Pell Grants, making sure that our young kids at school don't have to come to school hungry and they have something to eat. We know that that's a Democratic agenda, and those guys just don't share it. And so here I am, I'm 54 years old, and we're hearing a lot about that Medicare stuff, right? I know, good genes. So we're hearing a lot about that Medicare stuff, and they have a cutoff date of 55. And when you're 54, you start thinking about that a little bit. And first of all, you're saying, well, why did you choose 55? And then you're going, well, gosh, we don't want those guys to be in charge because I'm going to have to move really quickly to June 28th next year so I become 55. And on the other hand, we can do what the leader has said, which is don't agonize about it, but organize, because we're not going to let them get a hold of our Medicare. We're not going to let them get a hold of our Social Security. And in order to do that, now here's where California really comes into play, because in order to do that, all of those candidates that Jared Polis just talked about, we have to get 25 seats, and guess what? California's got 1/3 of them that we need right here. And so now California is a little bit like Maryland, and I'm going to tell you what it is. So the president comes into Maryland all the time, into my congressional district. He comes over to Andrews Air Force Base, gets on Air Force One, flies to California, raises some money, comes back, and then, back out again. And so sometimes we get, we're like, well, can he come to this school? Or, can he, go over here to this place in Maryland or in California? But we know that the president has a job to do because we've got to elect him at the top of the ticket, returning Barack Obama to the White House at the top of the ticket. We know that we have to maintain the Senate. And what we really know, and this is where California really does come into play. In a state like Maryland, we've got, one district to get back for Democrats. So add that up, 7 in California, 1 in Maryland, and then the 25 all across the country. And guess what? We get to give the gavel back to somebody who knows what to do with it when we return Nancy Pelosi as Speaker of the House of Representatives. So, here we go. Now, ladies, how many of you have on high heels today? Go ahead and say it. All right, I know I've got mine on too. But you know what? Between now and Election Day, we're going to take off the high heels, we're going to put on those flat shoes, we're going to knock on doors, we're going to make phone calls, we're going to raise money, and we're going to do what it takes to get the House back, keep the Senate, and re-elect President Obama. California is going to do that. Maryland is going to do it. We're going to do it all across this country, and we're going to make sure that we're not just going to seize power, that we want it because we know that we have an agenda for the American people. We know that we have an agenda that includes working people, that we believe in unions and in organizing because that empowers people. And we have to say that on Labor Day because it empowers people, it strengthens our communities. We have health care, and I mean, my goodness, can you imagine? These guys get control. I mean, they've already voted 30-some times to repeal the Affordable Care Act. Let's not give them a 33rd. And so we have work to do. And I want to thank you so much for having me here at breakfast this morning. I've had so much fun with you. I love the state of California, but most importantly, our leader, our speaker, who has logged more miles and raised more money, and we're going to make sure that we get the job done for her. Let's go, California. Let's get this party started. Thank you.